If we had like Big Shot Bob for Robert Horry, what are we calling Tyrese Halliburton? Because Big Shot Bob would give you like 1 a postseason. This guy's giving you 3 in 3 rounds. What a performance down the stretch by Halliburton, and the entirety of that team sticking together, staying to the plan, and shocking everyone in the fourth quarter again.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
After we have control of any sport, baseball, you can breathe, the pitcher steps off the mound, even the bottom of the 9th, World Series or whatever. Football, okay, first down, then you second down, and there's a method to it, right? The hockey is just all out reactionary, crazy, puck bouncing around everywhere. Oh my God, there's always like a scoring chance.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
Dialing it back to his old days with St. Louis and Arizona. Buy or sell, Goldie will finish top 7 in fantasy first baseman.
No, I'm going to say no. I think he'll fall off. Older player here, he'll be top 10, but not top 7 here. Top 10, I would say, yeah, I'd buy it. Top 7, I'm going to say no here. I think he'll put up decent numbers here. Not as good as he was. I don't think he's going to bat 340, 350 all year long.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
I got a feeling Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl. I got a feeling there is no chance they're going to the Super Bowl with Aaron Rodgers. I'm just kidding.
They're still not expected to have over 8.5 wins. They're still not expected to have a winning record. Now, I know things could change for the next 24 hours. I get that. But everyone expected Aaron Rodgers to sign with him. He's going to sign with him.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
We have a settlement for House versus NCAA. How does the decision shape the future of college sports? Plus, is this one of the best Stanley Cup finals we've seen? NHL Network host Catherine Tappan weighs in. Hello and welcome to Front Office Sports Today from our FO studios. I'm Renee Washington.
And I'm Baker Machado, fresh off of 5.5 hours of watching television yesterday, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Renee and I chat the biggest stories happening every day on the business of culture and sports. And we're talking French Open and the future of Alcaraz and Sinner with tennis writer Giddy Nathan later on. But first, let's dive into some of the headlines in the shoot-around.
Yeah, starting over with the NBA Finals logos that are back digitally. Now, the last time the Larry O'Brien logo was on the court in its large-size center court was 2014, and they were allegedly removed due to player safety concerns since players reported they were slippery. Now, we've seen various iterations in 2017 and 2020, and I know we at Front Office Sports, along with many others, have called the league out for not having the logos. So in a world where AI and hologram are prevalent, the league has tried digital logos.
I mean, it kind of looks a little clip-arty, but look, I'm happy they're back, and it's also interesting that so much criticism happened online to get them back, and literally the next game, Adam Silver has them in the broadcast. It's funny because just last weekend, he was at an NBA Cares charity event, and he said, to be honest, I hadn't thought that much about the logos. I'm nostalgic, though, and I think for a media-driven culture, whether people are watching live or on social media, you like to look back at the highlights with the trophy logo. So I think they might be here to stay, but what iteration we get for Game 3 in Indianapolis might be a bigger question.
Adam Silver said he missed the logos himself, and so they're back. But you know who also is back? It's the emotional return of Cristiano Ronaldo. It was a very emotional weekend for him. Really? He scored his 138th international goal as he led Portugal over Spain in the Nations League final. And then that game actually went to a penalty kick shootout, but then to make it even better, the 5-time Ballon d'Or winner in his press conference post-game said he's going to be renewing his contract with Al Nassr. He actually said, my future, basically nothing's going to change, staying at Al Nassr, yes. So there was speculation he may sign with a Brazilian club for the Club World Cup, but Ronaldo has laid those rumors to rest. He is going to be staying.
Well, that quote directly about was he going to sign with a Brazilian club to play in the Club World Cup, he said, some teams reached out to me, some made sense and others did not, but you can't try to do everything. You can't just play every ball, which I guess in hindsight is correct because you had this tournament, then it would be, you had the Nations Tournament in Europe, then you'd have the Club World Cup, and then you'd have the regular season with Al Nassr. The other big question is how much is he going to get paid with Al Nassr? He's coming off of of getting $200 million reportedly in his last contract year. Will they go up in preparation for the 2030 World Cup that they're going to be getting? So a lot of big questions there.
CR7's always in high demand, one of the best players of all time. Now over in the WNBA, Phoenix standout Satu Sabali publicly criticized Commissioner Kathy Engelberg and the league's schedule. She's complained that the Mercury have played 9 games in the past 18 days. What have you done in the last 18 days? Probably not played 9 WNBA games. No. Now the league has expanded, adding a 13th franchise in Golden State. They've had 2 more joining next year. So with that, they've also added 4 more games, which has hit that league maximum 44 games per team. Under the CBA, that's the max they can play in the regular season. And so the Mercury have a league high 10 games they've played. Sabali's played in all of them. And it does, Baker, lead to the question of, with the CBA looming, roster cap, schedules, and even some of these other factors, Sabali's made it very obvious this is going to be discussed.
I mean, well, we expected that. I mean, it's just like another big conversation for when those CBA contract extensions start in October. And if you look over the course of the last 6 years, the WNBA has added 10 games within the last 6 years. In 2003 to 2019, every team just played 34 games. In 2022 to 2023, they did 36 games. And then you just mentioned last year they were at 40, now they're at 44. Clearly, the WNBA wants maybe more games, but if they're going to get them done, they have to get that included in the new CBA starting next year.
Yeah, and it's definitely an issue when you only have 12 players on your roster to begin with, so now you have hardship
and
exceptions.
Injuries. Everybody's injured.
Everybody's injured, so it's led to a lot of concerns. Well, also this past weekend, a federal judge gave the final approval of the House versus NCAA settlement. Now, how does this agreement impact the future of college sports, especially when players are able to get paid directly by the school? Let's take a look at that and more in our main event. And we now welcome in our college sports reporter, Amanda Kristovich, who's been closely following and covering the settlement. Amanda, let's jump right in. What are the most important pieces of the agreement that people need to know?
I think the first thing to remember about the settlement is that $2.8 billion of damages for players who are not able to capitalize on NIL money are going to be going out as a result of this settlement. You know, players who played somewhere between 2016 and 2021. That's number one thing. Number two, the settlement sets up the ability for schools to pay players in Division I for the first time in NCAA history. Also huge. There's going to be a cap on that revenue sharing. It's going to be $20.5 million per school, and they have to share with all their sports. It can't just be football or basketball, okay? And then the other major components, I would say, there are now going to be limits on roster spots, which we've talked about before, but no limits on scholarships. And then there is going to be a new enforcement mechanism through something called the College Sports Commission to, adjudicate whether or not NIL deals are pay for play or fair market value to sort of try to even out the playing field. So I would say those are the main points.
Amanda, you mentioned the $20.5 million that each school is going to be giving to their programs, obviously allocated throughout a bunch of different sports. We'd assume football would likely get the lion's share of that money. But what happens if you're a school like the Big East? Can you basically allocate those same resources to basketball or women's sports or whatever?
100%. The schools that don't have FBS football programs or that don't have football programs at all are absolutely going to, it's going to be easier for them to distribute this money. Although I will note, not every school is going to be able to afford going all the way up to the cap. But if you're a school, that wants to be a basketball powerhouse, if you have an FBS football program and you want to be competitive, 75% of that revenue sharing money, give or take, is going to have to go to football. So the schools like in the Big East, as you said, who don't have that, those football expenses, they don't need all $20 million, to be able to give $6 or $7 million to their men's and women's basketball programs, which is more than a lot of power conference schools will be able to, at least within revenue sharing.
All right, with the last minute here, Amanda, I want to get your thoughts as key takeaways. What's the good, what's the bad of schools being able to pay players, but even these other aspects you're outlining?
The good is 100% that college athletes are getting paid and they're getting, a slice of the revenue directly from athletic departments that they've never gotten to receive before, especially in these power conferences where football and basketball players are earning, billions of dollars in these TV contracts for their schools. That's 100% a good thing. The back pay damages are a good thing for former athletes. I think the concerns are around, will athletes lose their spot or, lose future spots because of roster limits? We've talked about that before, the concerns there. And then the concern is like whether these new rules with NIL are enforceable. This is being used in place of a collective bargaining agreement, which is really the mechanism to regulate, major sports leagues and salary caps and things of that nature. And college sports doesn't have that. So for now, we have the House settlement. So we'll have to see if it's going to be enough or if the chaos is going to continue.
Well, with the last 60 seconds we have with you, Amanda, is the chaos going to continue? Because it felt like the judge left open the door for players to continue litigation if they so wanted here.
100%. The judge said that when it comes to Title IX, so gender equity, when it comes to, loss of opportunity from the roster limits, and when it comes to, loss of potential earnings because of the revenue sharing cap, athletes 100% can sue. And that is, I expect that they will. And so then, this is going to create a flurry of new lawsuits, ironically enough. It's a settlement ending, 3 major lawsuits and potentially creating even more.
So the federal judge ruling closed one book, but now opens the door for other conversations to be had. So Amanda, thank you so much. You've got boots on the ground, so to speak, in covering this, and we appreciate you for jumping in to weigh in on all this. Now, still ahead after this break, the champions have been crowned for the French Open. We've got Giddy Nathan joining us to discuss the rivalries, the instant classics, and much more here on Front Office Sports Today.
Guess what, golfers? Vegas isn't just casinos and pool parties. In fact, there are 50 golf courses within a 15-mile radius of the Strip, all boasting beautiful desert oasis landscapes. So, if you're looking for a break from the action, consider hitting the links. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
No one is going to pick Indiana. No one's going to pick Indiana to make it close, honestly. Like, you could get tremendous odds if you pick OKC in 7.
I think that taking the series over 5.5 games, the last 2 NBA Finals series ended in 5. I think this one goes 6. I think the Thunder will get the job done, but I think the Pacers are just too strong of a team and too talented of a team and too deep of a team to lose in 5 or fewer games.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. I want this to be the place that people come to. There is going to be an energy to game time decisions that you will feel night in and night out. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune in to Game Time Decisions weekdays on SportsGrid.
Welcome back into Front Office Sports Today with Baker. I'm Renee, and it feels like we're in a new era of tennis after Coco Gauff and Carlos Alcaraz won the French Open for the women and the men. Now we welcome in Giddy Nathan, writer and author of Change Over, a young rivalry and a new era of men's tennis, to break down the Roland Garros finals. Welcome, Giddy. So nice to have you here.
Yeah, it's lovely to be talking to you guys. What a match that was.
Let's jump right in on the men's side because we saw number 2 versus number 1. Yannick Sinner falls to Alcaraz, and we now have seen those two in the last 6 Grand Slams between them, 7 of the last 8, but it also marked the first Grand Slam final between them, and it was a long one. 5 hours, 29 minutes, making it the longest ever at Roland Garros and the second longest Grand Slam final in history, but the rivalry there is what I want to talk about. Are these two giving us one of the best rivalries, not only in tennis, but maybe in sports when you look at recent years?
Absolutely. I have to go back 3 years was kind of the moment when everyone knew it within tennis, where they played each other in a big US Open match in a quarterfinal. And that one went 5 sets, 5 hours too. And the quality was just out of this world for kids who were 19 and 21 years old at the time. And it just projected the future that was coming. Wow, these could be the ones who take over the sport after the household names, your Federer, your Nadal, your Djokovic start fading away. Maybe these are the two guys. And then it took a couple more years for them to actually clash at the highest level in the major tournaments. And on Sunday, we finally got to see them take each other on in a final, and it was ridiculous as expected.
You mentioned Djokovic there. I mean, obviously, 38, he's had a crazy career. The last time he won a Grand Slam, I think, was the US Open back in 2023. Do you think right now the future of men's tennis is just Sinner and Alcaraz, or do you think Djokovic still plays a role in this?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. He's kind of the gatekeeper in a lot of ways for the younger generations, and he really held them at bay for decades. And it was only in the last year and a half that we're starting to see this new generation of players born in the 2000s start to break through in Sinner and Alcaraz. And the truth is, Djokovic is still so good that I think he can take on most of the tour, with the exception of these two guys. And, I say that, but as recently as January, Djokovic was able to beat Alcaraz in a very tricky quarterfinal in the Australian Open, while injured too. So it's one thing to say we're shifting generations, but we do have to kind of pay tribute to this legend who's 38 and still pushing the younger generation to the limit every time he steps on the court.
I think that is the exciting part, the passing of the torch, so to speak. We're seeing the new generation emerging, but also the veterans, the OGs, still showing they've got some more gas in the tank. What did you take away from the Roland Garros on the men's side specifically, and looking at what the future of tennis holds? Is there separation and parity? Is there, more competitiveness than you have seen in recent years? What are your thoughts on just kind of the future of where the sport is going?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. When I set out to write the book about Sinner and Alcaraz, I kind of expected their era to unfold a little more slowly. And then it all struck all of a sudden, and suddenly they were splitting all the major titles amongst themselves. We're also seeing, even within this French Open that just ended, some of the contemporaries of Alcaraz and Sinner, like Jack Draper from the UK, and Lorenzo Musetti, a fellow Italian, as Sinner is. But the exciting thing about these shifts in era is there are names we're not even thinking about yet who are going to be defining the sport in the years ahead. So that's what I enjoy as a fan.
And then, by the way, you also have this great crop of great American men. The Taylor Fritzes, the Tommy Pauls, the Tiafos, all of them that are basically coming up as well. But I want to get to another area of Sinner, which I think is interesting. He's coming off of a suspension regarding a doping ban. Do you feel like that sort of taints him in any way because of that suspension in terms of his legacy going up against Alcaraz?
It's a very interesting question. I think it has definitely hurt his reputation within the sport. We can have a separate discussion about whether that's fair, but it's clear that his peers within the locker room have not always been as receptive to him since this doping news came out. And he spoke in a few interviews after the Australian Open that the vibe was off in the locker room, and I was thinking about taking a break from the tour. The doping agencies found him, you are responsible for the steroid getting into your body, but they believe he did not deliberately go out and use that substance. But it has definitely changed his reputation among fans and among his colleagues as well.
Well, let's shift over to the women's side because we talk about the American success. Coco Gauff won her second Grand Slam title in singles and became the first American to win the French Open since Serena Williams did in 2015. I love that she wrote herself a note when she was 17 and won it exactly 4 years later to the day. So now Madison Keys won previously in the Australian Open, and then Coco just won the French Open. So they've got the first two Grand Slams women from the American side. What are your thoughts on just the face of women's tennis? Is it Coco Gauff? Is it really emerging that she's truly that face, that household name?
Definitely. I think it's been amazing to see Coco emerge as the greatest American player of this generation. And she does it in a different way than Americans of the past. American tennis in the past has been known for building on a really strong serve and a really strong forehand and maybe lacking in other aspects of the game. But Coco brings such a diverse mix to her tennis. She's so fast. Her backhand is beautiful. She's got great volleys. She's just a fun, dynamic player. And I think Coco's for sure at the head of this American cohort, and she'll be really tough to beat.
We only have just a little bit of time left with you, but no rest for these guys because just in a few weeks, Wimbledon is happening at the end of June. Do you expect to sort of see the same fireworks and the same people at the top?
I do, certainly on the men's side. Over the past few seasons on the women's side, Wimbledon's been kind of a free-for-all. We've seen a lot of interesting, unexpected names come through. But I see no reason that Coco couldn't make a deep run there as well, and it'd be really interesting to see.
And by the way, on the men's side, do you still think it's going to be Sinner and Alcaraz maybe in the finals for Wimbledon?
I do. I think it'll probably be those two guys, and for sure Djokovic would be the next name down.
Well, of course, now with Wimbledon, that is the longest drought that since an American has won that Grand Slam with, of course, Coco winning the French Open. So that's another historic moment that's in the waiting to happen. But thank you so much. Talk about historic moments. You have a great opportunity as your book is dropping August 19th that people can check out. Change Over, A Young Rivalry and a New Era of Men's Tennis. So Giddy, thank you so much for not only joining the show, but also your contributions. It's going to be a great book that people can check out now if they want to get involved with pre-ordering. And we are looking forward to seeing how that continues to unfold for you as well.
Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Over in the NHL, is this the best Stanley Cup Finals we've seen in recent years? Well, coming up after this break, NHL Network host Catherine Tappan joins us to weigh in on the split series.
It'll be interesting to see what the Knicks do, but the Knicks are at a point now where they don't have to blow it up. They may still do so, and they have a right to do so, but with trading the 4 first-round picks and the pick swap for Mikal Bridges, the Knicks don't have a lot of room in regards to actual picks to throw at people.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
Plenty of takeaways from Yankees-Dodgers where LA sent the message on Saturday, and the only way the Yankees could salvage it was somehow beating Yamamoto, and they did.
You're staring a sweep in the face. And after losing the World Series, knowing what the opponent is, you know what the narrative would have been on Sunday Night Monday. Oh, the Yankees get swept by the Dodgers.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
Two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that ring. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
And welcome back back in our front office sports today. Baker, Renee here, and we are now joined by the host for NHL Network, Catherine Tappan. Catherine, so nice to have you here ahead of the excitement of Game 3 for the Stanley Cup Finals. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Baker and Renee. Great to be with you guys. And yeah, I mean, the excitement is brewing for this Game 3. We've just had so many great games in the first two and Edmonton, and now really looking forward to tonight's Game 3 in Florida.
And as the series shifts to Florida now for Game 3, it's a very different matchup in terms of how we got here. You look at last year with the Panthers winning the first three, then the Oilers tying it at 3-3, and then, of course, that Game 7 being the decisive choice. No overtime games last year. We've had an overtime and a double overtime for this split series. How important is it, do you think, for this Stanley Cup Finals, which is a rematch of last year, to have that excitement when you compare it to last or previous seasons of just garnering the attention of fans and the audience to grow the sport?
Yeah, well, I think you just said it. I mean, this is one of the most, if not the most exciting Stanley Cup final I can remember. And I've been broadcasting the NHL for the better part of the last 20 years. So this has been remarkable. It shows you the parity in the league. It shows you how competitive and how good these two teams are. I mean, we've played close to 9 periods of hockey in just 2 games. So it's been really exciting. I think it only generates more interest in the sport, more interest in, the fan base, the people tuning in, even your casual sports fan that just wants to see, gosh, what are these games? What do they entail? Like, what is happening that is making them go so late? And it's because you've got superstars on both sides. You've got incredible defenses. You've got depth of scoring, 2 amazing coaches behind that bench.
Yeah, and one of the big stars in all of this has been Sam Bennett of the Florida Panthers, who's really coming around at a really good time for him, given the fact that NHL free agency is coming up here soon. He will be a free agent. And the fact that he leads all playoff scorers with 13 goals has really already put himself in consideration for the Conn Smythe Trophy. What do you sort of think the market will be for him, depending upon how well this finals goes for him?
Well, I think it's going to be huge no matter what. And there's, 30 other teams in the National Hockey League that would love to have Sam Bennett on their team, as would the Florida Panthers. So I think it's going to be, certainly priority number 1. Sam Bennett, I would say, would be number 2 of the unrestricted free agents this summer. Mitch Marner, as we know in Toronto, will go as the highest paid forward that is out there right now. And by the way, don't forget about Brad Marchand, who also, in my opinion, could be a Conn Smythe candidate. The way he's playing these games, he has won a Stanley Cup before. He is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season, was traded to Florida at the deadline. He and Sam are extremely close. They play a very similar style of hockey. And I think Brad Marchand is only increasing his value as this Stanley Cup final continues. So look at those 3 players as unrestricted free agents at season's end.
Well, something else to keep an eye on. It's hard to get to the Stanley Cup once, let alone twice, let alone 3 times in a row, and then be defending your title. So for GM Bill Zito, obviously one of the finalists for General Manager of the Year, is this the year that he gets it and dethrones Jim Nill, who's won the past 2 seasons?
Yeah, I mean, listen, Jim Nill's an incredible general manager and made some very impressive moves at the trade deadline for the Dallas Stars, but I would hope that this is Bill Zito's year. He deserves it. He's done an incredible job with this Florida Panthers team. The way hockey has grown in this market, I am amazed. His moves at the trade deadline, acquiring a player like a Brad Marchand, by the way, that happened as the clock was ticking at the end of the trade deadline on that day. He got that deal done. He brought one of the most hated players in the league here to win a championship. That is Brad Marchand, who has incredible leadership in the locker room, outside the locker room. He knew what his team needed, and he went out and got the pieces. And here they are again back in the Stanley Cup final. So whether they win or lose, he's a contender for sure.
Really quickly, Catherine, does Game 3 go to overtime?
Oh, gosh, I need some sleep. Baker. You know what? Sure, why not?
Why not?
I have no reason to believe it doesn't.
Keep it going.
Keep the good times going. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
And watch Catherine on NHL Tonight, too, by the way, on NHL Network.
Absolutely. Okay, let's see what's bubbling over at the FOS water cooler. It's Michael Jordan. And how much would you pay, Baker, for an autographed Michael Jordan rookie card? Because that is what's being sold at Pharrell Williams Auction House starting mid-June, with the starting bid at just $2 million. Now, there has never been an autographed Michael Jordan rookie card with this high of quality ever sold publicly. He actually signed it with a blue Sharpie in a private signing for a private collector last year. And they said it took about 5 years for them to even set up that signing.
I know.
So how much are you spending $2 million?
I mean, maybe. I mean, the auction house is thinking they could fetch upwards of $3 million for this card because, as you mentioned, there is no card like this that has been on the market that is in good quality and signed by MJ. MJ has only signed 9 of these cards that even exist out there with that blue Sharpie. So yes, between the 17th and the 26th, this would potentially be the most valuable Michael Jordan card ever sold on auction, which is really saying something because I feel like every week we do a new story that's something out there in collectible space from MJ that is fetching a new record of something.
Some say this is the GOAT of all the cards that Michael Jordan has sold, possibly.
Well, also because you have Pharrell Williams auction house attached to this. This is
It's a
getting even
lot
better
to
for that.
handle. Well, we've got a lot coming up on our show this week. So coming up on Front Office Sports today, we actually have a special guest joining with a surprising scoop that you'll have to tune in to find out for yourself. Thanks so much for watching. For Baker Renee, we will see you guys next time. Have a good one.